In April of 2018, Sega announced that it would bring its venerable Sega Ages line to the Nintendo Switch. We'd be seeing some of Sega's classic IPs here, and Sega announced a pile of games right from the get-go. It was also being handled by M2, who had copious amounts of experience bringing Sega's old games to modern platforms. The most exciting part of this new endeavor was Sega's mentioning that Saturn and Dreamcast games would be in consideration. While nothing has been announced, this is really the only time Sega has openly expressed any interest at all in making Saturn games available for the modern audiences. The games we have seen so far consist mainly of Sega Genesis and arcade IPs, with the odd Master System classic thrown in for good measure. As of this video, 8 games have been commercially released in the Switch series, with 11 more currently known to be in development. We are going to take a look at some of these games in detail, as well as talk a little bit about the Saturn games that would be the best fit for it. I hope you guys enjoy Sega Ages and the Nintendo Switch. Not surprising to some and shocking to others, Sega decided to make the first Sonic game a launch title for the new Switch series. I'm not going to waste much time here guys, as I own so many versions of this game on so many hardware platforms that I've lost count. I appreciate the extras that were thrown in, but this game is well known to each and every one of you. It's here if you want it. On the other hand, the other launch game was Thunder Force 4, also known as Lightning Force in the West. This was a Genesis game that looked and sounded good enough to give some Neo Geo titles a run for their money. Tons of gorgeous parallax scrolling accent each stage, and the color use and detail is superb. You can choose your ship's speed on the fly, as well as choose which weapon is best suited for the situation. The Sega Ages edition here has the save states, control, and audio-visual options that most of these Sega Ages releases sport, but the real meat of the additions are the unlockable Thunder Force 3 ship and its different power-ups, and the Kids mode that allows you to keep your power-ups upon a death. This radically changes the difficulty of the game, giving lesser skilled players a fighting chance. Overall, it's an excellent package of an excellent game. The Saturn version is just as good, but the price difference makes this one the one to own. The next game to show up was the Sega Master System classic RPG Phantasy Star. Now with an on-screen map system for the dungeons and an easy mode for beginners, it's pretty much the best version of this game available. I hate reviewing RPGs in this format because in order for the footage to be interesting, I pretty much have to give away big battles and plot points to you. Instead of doing that, let's talk strategy to help those of you that may have had a bad experience with the Phantasy Star series due to their crazy difficulty. Like the others, Phantasy Star here is hard as hell, and merciless to the uninitiated. You'll find the very first battle is capable of sending you back to the title screen dead as hell. That's because Phantasy Star doesn't hold your hand, doesn't care if you don't know where to go or what to do, and doesn't provide you with any checkpoints to save your ass. To combat this, you need to level up early, score the best gear in your immediate area, and save often. The town you start in has a friend that will heal you for free, and you need to take advantage of her generosity as much as possible. Use the small patch of trees just below the town to battle enemies, but you need to fight smart. Only engage in battles with the swarm enemy at first, and do not be afraid to run if your life is low. All you need to do is return to the healer to get your life back. Keep doing this for a few easy levels for your character, and you'll also start racking up money in the process. Buy yourself the best weapons you can in the immediate area, as well as a few items to replenish your health. Once you do this, you will become much harder to kill, and can actually defend yourself properly when random battles start kicking in with stronger foes. You can keep doing this to really rack up more money and items to make your journey easier. Remember to never take no from the guy selling secrets, and be sure to get your passport as soon as you can. Once you do, you'll find this experience to be one of the best on the system. No Sega Ages series would be complete without Sega's flagship driving game, Outrun. M2 did a fantastic job making this look and run like a champ on the Nintendo Switch. Smooth as butter and loaded with tons of little unlockable gameplay assists like easier steering, less crashes, and tires that can go off-road without losing speed. This is again about as good a version of this game as you are going to get. Difficulty settings are in place for those that just want a smooth cruise through the game's many stages or a grueling battle against time and other cars. There's also an arcade mode that duplicates the look and feel of the original in nearly every way. You also get some really good music selections in addition to the classic stuff you already know and love. I really can't recommend this one enough. It's got everything a fan of the original wants except the Ferrari license. I can deal with that when a port is this damn good. Next up is Gain Ground, a run-and-gun strategy game that has a very deceptive premise. Many people will take one look at this and turn their nose up at the small sprites and simple stage graphics. These initial impressions are exacerbated by what appears to be simple run-and-gun mechanics. But Gain Ground here is so much more. As you progress, you come across other fighters that have been captured and need to be carried to the exit and freed. They then become available for you to use in your army, often with different weapons and special attacks of their own. Each stage gets progressively harder, until you are finally doing battle with dozens of enemies, strongholds, and even bosses. This is where the simple idea of the run and gun dies, and the strategy game truly begins. You won't be trotting around going roughshod on enemies once the hordes descend upon you. You'll need to plan your path and attacks quickly and effectively, making the most of each character's strengths while dealing successfully with their weaknesses. It can be played in the Switch's vertical orientation and has a number of difficulty settings for even the most diehard fans. It's a winner that is often hidden behind its simple veneer. Be sure to give it a chance. Alex Kidd and Miracle World showed up as the first 2019 release in the Sega Ages series. I'm going to admit something that may shock most of you, but I hate this game with a passion. I've never enjoyed it, even back when it was first released. I am going to follow the old wisdom of if you don't have anything good to say about something, don't say it at all. This one is available for you fans of the original Sega Master System game, if you so desire. It's not available in the West yet, but the arcade version of Poyo is coming as well. Many of you may recognize the ties to Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, and that's because they are pretty much the same games. Connect the same colored blobs to clear them away as fast as you can. You can do battle against another player or the CPU. If you have ever played Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo, you know exactly what to expect here.
Fire! Ice storm! Hey!
Just released in Japan is AM2's classic Model 1 arcade racing game, Virtua Racing. I just picked this one up and fell in love with it instantly. In what has to be the very best audio-visual presentation this game has ever had, it's everything you remember the arcade game being and so much more. These polygons have never run so smooth or looked as good as they do here. The draw distance goes on for days, and the easy modes allow even the most casual fans to have a real shot at finishing a race. You can even take it online against other players, or post your best times for the world to see. You can also save your best replays to go back and enjoy in all their cinematic glory. I haven't unlocked any hidden options yet, but man am I looking forward to seeing what's here. If you do not have access to the Japanese Switch store, this should be available soon in the US and Europe. It's a day one purchase for anyone who loved the arcade original. That ends our commercially available games, but 11 more are announced and on the way. None of these have release dates yet for any region. The arcade version of Space Harrier is coming. I imagine we will see similar upgrades to the visuals as Outrun, as well as a host of little unlockables to enhance its gameplay. The arcade version of Columns 2, The Voyage Through Time is coming. Not sure we needed this one with Poyo out, but it does have the best version of Flash Columns from the old series. The arcade version of Thunder Force AC is due to arrive soon as well. Sort of a remix of Thunder Force 3, it should be a great complement to Part 4. We got Part 1, so why not Part 2? More Sonic is on the way. And on that note, we'll be seeing more Poyo as well, with the second arcade game in the works. The arcade minigame extravaganza Puzzle in Action Ichiden R is coming to the Sega Ages line. Its art style is similar to Bonanza Brothers, and it's loaded with little games you can play with a friend. This one needs no introduction, the arcade classic Shinobi is coming to Sega Ages. If there is any justice in the world, it will be followed by the arcade version of Shadow Dancer at some point. The arcade version of G-Lock Air Battle is coming, and since so few home versions have ever done this game any justice at all, this should be a good one. It takes the Afterburner gameplay formula a step further with better graphics, more intense battles, and different camera views. Sega Ages has to have a fantasy zone, the horizontal shoot 'em up with super colorful graphics and go anywhere gameplay. It's kind of like the old arcade game Defender, it just looks so much cuter. The Sega Genesis real-time strategy classic Herzog Zwei is also planned for a Sega Ages release. Often credited as the inspiration for games like Command & Conquer, Warcraft, and StarCraft, this one rarely receives much love from Sega. I'm shocked to see it here. The arcade version of Wonder Boy in Monsterland is coming as well, the adventure game that followed the original Wonder Boy. I would have rather have had Monster World 4, but this one ain't bad either. That covers everything that has been announced for the Switch Sega Ages line so far. What's scary is that it's been a year since the series was announced, and we only have 8 games out of the 19 known in development. With no Saturn or Dreamcast games announced yet, I'm beginning to lose hope. But with that said, I feel there are 3 Saturn games that would make perfect Sega Ages releases for the Switch. First is Sega Rally. M2 has worked on the original arcade before, porting it to the PlayStation 2 with Sega Rally 2006. This is the only other home console version of the original game outside of the Saturn release. This needs to change, and it needs to have multiplayer racing modes as well. Dragon Force is my favorite game on the Saturn, and a port to the Switch would be incredible. Being able to play it anywhere I want it would be awesome enough, but add a few new difficulty modes and a few more hidden generals, and it could be the perfect game on the go. And finally, Sega could bring a stall to the Sega Ages line. It could include both of the Japanese and US versions, both of their sound and music differences, as well as their changes in difficulty from one another. I believe it would make a great portable game, and it should be one of the easier Saturn games to get running on the Switch. I really hope you guys enjoyed my Sega Ages and the Nintendo Switch episode. While I have mostly appreciated what we have gotten so far, I really hope Sega opens up the back catalog soon and really starts exploring what it could do here. They have a chance to really do some great things, and not just with the Saturn games I spoke of earlier, but also getting out arcade games that have never had a home release, like Golden Axe: The Revenge of Death Adder and Outrunners. There is so much potential here that Sega almost has to go out of its way to get it wrong. I'm Sega Lord X. Thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you next time.